The late afternoon sun poured down on Broad Street in Lagos, painting the roofs orange and the air thick with heat. Traffic honked. Danfolk buses shouted for passengers, and the city throbbed with its usual noise. In front of the gleaming entrance of Regal's supermarket, a frail old woman stood, clutching a small nylon bag. Her wrapper was faded, her scarf gray with dust. A wooden stick trembled in her hand. She looked like someone the city had forgotten. Cunnell stepped out of a polished black SUV, adjusting his designer wristwatch as he locked the door with a sharp click. Tall, proud, and dressed in a crisp white shirt, he carried himself like a man the world owed respect. He worked for one of the most powerful billionaires in the country, and he never let anyone forget it. His shoes gleamed against the dusty pavement, drawing stares as he strode toward the supermarket doors. "Please, my son," the old woman's voice broke the rhythm of his steps. "Help me with a little money. I have not eaten since yesterday." Cunnell turned slowly, his eyes running over her from head to toe. For a moment, silence sat between them. Then a cruel smile crept onto his face. "You," he scoffed loudly, making sure the nearby shoppers heard. "Look at yourself. Ragged, smelling of poverty. And you dare beg someone like me?" The woman lowered her head, whispering, "I only ask for kindness. God bless you if you help." Cunnell barked a laugh, drawing the attention of a small crowd. "Kindness? Mama, let me tell you something. People like you are a disgrace to the city. You think standing here with your dirty wrapper will earn pity? You should be in the village, not blocking rich men's paths." Some passers-by murmured disapproval, but no one stepped forward. The supermarket security guard shifted uneasily, watching the scene unfold. The woman's eyes lifted to his, tired but calm. "My son," she said softly, "pride is like smoke. It disappears before you know it." Cunnell clapped his hands mockingly. "See this poor witch giving me advice. Do you know who I am? I work for Chief Adewale himself, the billionaire who controls half the city. One word from me, and people like you will never breathe near this supermarket again." The old woman pressed her lips together. She did not curse him. She did not raise her voice. A single tear slid down her cheek, catching the light of the setting sun. Cunnell shook his head, disgusted, and brushed past her into the supermarket. Laughter still lingered on his face as the glass door swallowed him inside. Behind him, the old woman remained rooted to the ground, her thin shoulders shaking as she whispered words only she could hear. Across the road, among the bustle of okadas and vendors, a man in a simple shirt froze. His eyes had caught her face, a face he remembered from photographs, from news articles, from whispers in the city. His heart pounded. Could it really be her? That evening, the neon lights of Regal's supermarket glowed against the darkening sky. Inside, Cunnell pushed the trolley lazily through the aisles, whistling under his breath. He tossed in bottles of imported wine, biscuits wrapped in gold foil, and a fresh pair of sunglasses he didn't need. His phone buzzed every few minutes with messages from friends planning the weekend. He smirked, satisfied with himself, satisfied with his world. Outside, the old woman leaned against the supermarket wall, her bag of vegetables clutched to her chest. She had not moved far since Cunnell's harsh words. Passers-by gave her quick, curious glances but walked on. The city had trained them to ignore pain unless it was their own. Across the street, Tund, a quiet man in jeans and a faded shirt, stood frozen in place. His eyes had locked on the old woman's face from the moment Cunnell ridiculed her. He knew he had seen her somewhere important. The wrinkles, the sharp nose, the quiet dignity that even hunger could not erase. It all pieced together in his mind. His chest tightened as realization struck. It was Madame Grace Olowu, mother of Chief Adewale Olowu, billionaire founder of Olowu Holdings. The woman the news had declared missing 3 months ago, presumed dead after all searches failed. Tund's heart hammered. He fumbled for his phone, his hands trembling. He stepped away from the crowd, leaning against a kiosk. "Hello," he whispered when the line connected. "Don't shout. I just saw your mother." "Yes, your mother. She's alive. She's standing in front of Regal Supermarket in Marina. Come now." There was silence on the line, then a single word, heavy with disbelief. "Where?" Tund repeated the location. The call ended sharply. He wiped his sweaty palms on his trousers and looked back. The old woman's eyes were clouded, her lips trembling as if she was trying to remember something lost. She whispered softly, "Who am I? Where is this place?" Meanwhile, Connell strolled to the checkout counter, scrolling on his phone. He barely noticed a commotion beginning outside. A small crowd had gathered, whispering, taking cautious looks at the old woman. Phones started to rise discreetly, recording. Something about her face, her brokenness, and her calm presence stirred attention. Then the sound of engines broke through the noise of the street. 5 black SUVs rolled into the narrow road, moving like silent shadows. Their tinted windows reflected the supermarket lights. Traffic slowed. Pedestrians froze. The convoy stopped, doors opening with sharp clicks. Men in black suits stepped out first, scanning the area with cold eyes. Then, from the center SUV, a tall figure emerged. Chief Adewale Olowu. His dark suit was pressed. His tie nodded with perfection, but his face carried a grief that had lived for months. He did not greet anyone. He did not wave. His eyes searched desperately. Tund raised his hand. Their eyes met across the road. Tund pointed to the corner, where the old woman stood. Chief Adewale's steps quickened. The crowd parted like water as he pushed through, his guards flanking him. His eyes landed on the frail figure leaning against the wall. Her scarf was gray with dust, her wrapper torn, her cheeks streaked with tears. The sight stopped him cold. "Mama!" His voice cracked, a whisper breaking free from his chest. The old woman turned slowly, her cloudy eyes meeting his. She studied his face with a long pause, tilting her head as if searching a forgotten memory. Her lips parted. "Who are you?" she asked softly. Adewale's knees nearly gave way. He stepped closer, his voice trembling. "It's me, Mama. It's Adewale, your son." The crowd gasped. Phones lifted higher. Whispers rippled. Some covered their mouths. Others murmured prayers. The old woman blinked, her eyes wet. "Adewale?" She said the name like she was tasting it, like it was both strange and familiar. Her thin hand reached forward, brushing his cheek gently. "My boy." Tears slid down Adewale's face. He dropped his jacket over her shoulders, pulling her close, trying to shield her from the stares. He pressed a handkerchief to her cheeks, wiping gently at the dirt and tears. "Mama, we thought you were gone. We searched everywhere. Who did this to you? Where have you been?" "I don't know," she whispered weakly. "One morning I woke up on the street. My head was empty. I only knew hunger. Today I asked someone for food, and her lips trembled. She poured on my face." Adewale's chest tightened. His eyes darkened. "Who?" he demanded. And then, as if fate itself had been waiting for the moment, the supermarket doors slid open with a soft hiss. Connell stepped out, his shopping bag in hand, his phone in the other, smiling at a joke on his screen. The smile fell the instant his eyes lifted. He froze at the sight before him. His boss kneeling, cradling the face of the old beggar he had just mocked. Security guards formed a wall. Cameras pointed. The world seemed to still. Adewale rose slowly, his eyes locking on Connell with a fury that burned hotter than fire. "You—" His voice was low, shaking with contained rage. "Was it you who poured food on my mother?" Connell's bag slipped from his hand. Bread and wine tumbled to the ground. His mouth opened, but no words came. The crowd closed in, phones recording, whispers turning into shouts. The old woman's hand gripped her stick tightly. She pointed a trembling finger. "That's him. I asked for food, and he—" Her voice broke. Tears spilled down her face. Connell staggered back, sweat breaking on his forehead. For the first time, the arrogant shine in his eyes was gone, replaced by raw fear. The crowd outside Regal's supermarket thickened. Some whispered in disbelief. Others raised their phones higher, desperate to capture every second. The billionaire everyone admired was kneeling in the dirt, holding a frail old woman who moments ago had been invisible to the world. Chief Adewale's grip on his mother's hand tightened as his chest heaved with anger. His voice cut through the murmurs. "You." His eyes locked on Connell. "Was it you who poured food on my mother?" The weight of his words silenced the street. Even the buses and Okadas seemed to pause. Cunnel swallowed hard, his throat dry. He opened his mouth, but nothing came out. For years he had been proud of his job, bragging about being close to Adewale Olowu, using the billionaire's name like a shield. But now, with hundreds of eyes on him and cameras recording, he felt naked. Chief Adewale's guards stepped forward. Two of them positioned themselves beside Cunnel, their presence heavy, their stares sharp enough to cut glass. Madame Grace trembled, pointing her stick weakly. "That's him," she whispered. "I asked for food. Just food. He mocked me. He threw it on my face." The crowd erupted in outrage. A woman shouted, "Wickedness!" Another man cursed under his breath. Someone hissed loudly, shaking their head. Cunnel's knees buckled. He raised his hands. "Sir, I didn't know. I swear I didn't know it was your mother." Chief Adewale's jaw clenched so tight the veins in his neck bulged. His usually calm eyes burned with something fierce. He leaned closer, his voice trembling with fury. "You humiliated a helpless old woman. You mocked her, treated her like dirt. You didn't need to know who she was. You only needed to know she was human." Cunnel's lips trembled. His gaze darted to the crowd, to the dozens of phones pointed at him. His arrogance was gone, replaced by desperation. "Please, sir, forgive me. It was a mistake. I was only—" "Silence!" Adewale thundered. His voice echoed off the supermarket walls. "You don't speak. Not here. Not now." He turned to his guards. "Take my mother to the car." Carefully, two guards gently lifted Madame Grace, guiding her toward the waiting SUVs. She clutched Adewale's jacket tightly around her shoulders, her cloudy eyes scanning the crowd, confused but comforted by her son's presence. As they moved, the atmosphere grew electric. Phones followed her every step, capturing the billionaire's mother, believed dead, walking again, alive but broken. Chief Adewale remained, standing tall in the street, his presence heavy. His gaze returned to Cunnel. The young man shook like a leaf, sweat soaking his shirt. "You will answer for this," Adewale said coldly. The words fell like a death sentence. Then, without another glance, he turned and followed his mother into the convoy. Doors slammed shut, engines roared to life, and within seconds the SUVs pulled away, leaving dust and whispers in their wake. Cunnel stood frozen, surrounded by eyes and cameras. The shame pressed down on him like a mountain. He bent slowly, picking up the bread and wine he had dropped, but his hands trembled too much. A bottle rolled across the pavement, and someone kicked it away. A young boy spat near his feet. Big man for nothing. Cunnel's chest burned. He stumbled away, pushing through the crowd, desperate to escape the stares. But it was too late. By nightfall, the videos were everywhere. On social media, clips spread like wildfire. Headlines screamed across blogs and news sites. The missing mother of billionaire Adewale Olowu, found alive at Regal's supermarket. Employee caught humiliating boss's mother. Heartless staff pours food on homeless woman. Turns out to be billionaire's mother. Comment sections overflowed with anger. Fire him. No heart at all. How can someone be this wicked? Cunnel sat in his one-bedroom flat, his phone buzzing endlessly. His face was everywhere. The same arrogance he had once worn like armor was now painted as cruelty for the entire world to see. He threw the phone onto the bed, buried his face in his hands, and groaned. His career, his reputation, his pride, everything was slipping away. Meanwhile, across Lagos, the billionaire's mansion was alight with tension. Madame Grace lay on a hospital bed inside the private clinic attached to Adewale's estate. Doctors moved around her, whispering about her fragile state. Sedatives, hunger, memory loss. The words floated in the air. Chief Adewale sat beside her, holding her frail hand. "Mama," he whispered, his voice breaking. "It's me. You're safe now. Nobody will ever hurt you again." She looked at him with clouded eyes, then slowly nodded. "Adewale, my boy." Tears filled his eyes as he pressed her hand to his forehead. "I thought I lost you forever." The doctors exchanged worried glances. They knew her recovery would be slow, her memory fractured. But for now, She was alive, and that was enough. In the corner of the room, Adewale's wife, Ifeoma, stood silently, tears glistening on her cheeks. She clasped her hands together, whispering a prayer of thanks. But as the night deepened, Adewale's relief hardened into something else, resolve. Someone had taken his mother. Someone had left her to rot on the streets. And he would find out who. His fists clenched. His eyes darkened. The game had only begun. The morning after the supermarket incident, Lagos woke up buzzing. News outlets replayed the videos endlessly. Radio hosts debated morality and pride. Hashtags trended across platforms. Hashtag Billionaire's mother. Hashtag Regal supermarket drama. Hashtag heartless employee. In every cafe, office, and bus, people were talking about one thing: the billionaire whose mother was found alive, and the arrogant employee who had disgraced her. Kuno sat in his apartment with swollen eyes, his phone on the floor buzzing nonstop. Friends who once begged to hang out with him now avoided his calls. Messages of insult poured in from strangers. Shame on you. You deserve prison. How can you pour food on an old woman? He stood in front of his mirror, his reflection mocking him. The man who used to boast about working for Chief Adewale now looked like a ghost. He slammed his fist on the table. I didn't know. How was I supposed to know? His voice cracked. But even as he spoke, he knew the truth. He hadn't needed to know who she was. His arrogance had been enough. Meanwhile, at the Olowu estate, the air was heavy with tension. Guards patrolled the gates with double vigilance. Inside the mansion's private clinic, Madame Grace lay resting. Her frail body was wrapped in white sheets, her head gently propped on soft pillows. Machines beeped softly beside her. Chief Adewale sat in a leather chair at her bedside, his tie loosened, his eyes sunken with exhaustion. He had not slept. All night, he replayed her words. I woke up on the street one morning. My head was empty. I only knew hunger. The doctors had confirmed it. She had been drugged repeatedly. Sedatives lingered in her blood. It was no accident. Someone had wanted her out of the picture. Adewale's fist clenched around the medical file. Whoever had done this had crossed the line. The door opened quietly. Ifeoma entered with a tray of food. She placed it gently on the side table and touched her husband's shoulder. You need to eat, she whispered. Adewale shook his head. Not until I know who did this. Ifeoma knelt beside him, her eyes glistening. She's alive. That's a miracle. Let's focus on her recovery first. But Adewale's gaze was hard. No, this was deliberate. Someone close to us wanted her gone, and I will not rest until I uncover who. He rose, pacing the room. His tall frame cast long shadows across the polished floor. Mama doesn't just vanish for 3 months and end up begging on the streets. She was taken, drugged, left to rot, and now she barely remembers who she is. His voice cracked, but he forced it steady. Whoever did this will pay. At that moment, Madame Grace stirred. Her cloudy eyes opened slowly. She looked around the room, confused, before they settled on her son. Adewale, she whispered. He rushed to her side, gripping her hand. Mama, I'm here. Her lips trembled as she spoke. I saw something before the darkness. A hand with a ring. Gold. A crest. A lion. Adewale froze. His chest tightened. That description was too familiar. Are you sure, Mama? He asked gently. Her frail fingers trembled as she traced the air. I'll never forget it. That ring pushed me into the van. Then nothing. Adewale's breath caught. His mind flashed to his uncle, Chief Damien Olowu, the man who wore a golden ring with a lion crest, the man who had been at his side since childhood, the man who had helped him build Olowu Holdings from the ground up. Ifeoma gasped softly. She had noticed the ring too many times not to recognize it. She covered her mouth. Adewale's face hardened. It can't be. But deep down he knew. That evening, Adewale gathered his most trusted men in the mansion study. The room smelled of leather and wood polish. Family portraits lined the walls, including one of him as a boy sitting on Damien's lap. Now those images mocked him. He slammed his fist on the mahogany desk. I want every detail. Every CCTV near a Regal supermarket. Every car that passed. Every call made in the last 3 months. Nothing is to be left unchecked. His head of security, Musa, cleared his throat. Sir, we already pulled the supermarket footage. There was a black SUV parked across the street the entire time. It never moved. Its plates are registered to, he hesitated. Say it, Adewale barked. Chief Damien Olowu, Musa finished, his voice low. The room went silent. The weight of betrayal filled the air. Adewale's chest heaved. His mind reeled. His uncle, the man who had raised him after his father's death, had been watching, maybe even orchestrating, his mother's suffering. His voice was steady when he finally spoke. So it's true. The enemy isn't outside. It's inside my own blood. Ifeoma placed a trembling hand on his arm. Adewale, what will you do? He stared out the tall glass windows, the Lagos skyline glittering in the distance. His reflection stared back at him, eyes burning with fury. What I must, he whispered. Damien has declared war on me, and I will not lose. Meanwhile, at his apartment, Cunnell scrolled through the storm of insults flooding his phone. His career was finished. He knew the company would cut him off, but as he read one particular blog article, his chest tightened. Billionaire family rift. Damien Olowu versus Adewale Olowu. He read every line. Rumors of inheritance battles, whispers of jealousy, legal disputes quietly buried. His mind raced. Could this be connected? Could the humiliation at the supermarket be the smallest part of a far bigger storm? He shut his laptop, his heart pounding. For the first time since the scandal, fear replaced shame. He realized he hadn't just ruined his life. He had stumbled into the middle of a war between giants. The boardroom at Olowu Holdings was suffocating that morning. Executives sat stiffly, their eyes darting between Chief Adewale and the man seated opposite him, his uncle, Chief Damien Olowu. Damien leaned back casually in his chair, his gold-lined crest ring glinting under the fluorescent lights. His eyes carried a calm arrogance, as though he had already won. Why summon me like a criminal, Adewale? He asked smoothly, his voice deep, almost mocking. Is this how you now treat family? Adewale's jaw tightened. He pushed a folder across the polished table. Inside were CCTV photos, medical reports, and eyewitness statements. Damien opened it lazily, skimming the pages. And what is this supposed to prove? That you were there. Adewale's voice cut sharp. That you watched as my mother, your own brother's widow, was drugged, abandoned, left to beg on the streets. And you did nothing. A ripple of shock moved across the table. Executives shifted in their seats, uneasy. Damien's smirk deepened. He tapped the ring against the desk. Clink, clink. Be careful, nephew. Accusations without proof can destroy reputations. Adewale slammed his fist on the desk. Proof? The ring, Damien. Mama remembered the ring. The van. The shove. The crest she saw before the darkness swallowed her. And then your SUV parked across the supermarket while she stood in rags. Proof enough. Damien's smile finally faded. His eyes narrowed, sharp as knives. She is an old woman. Her mind is weak. You will risk everything based on her broken memory? Adewale leaned forward, his voice low but burning. Her memory may fade, but my resolve does not. I built this empire with you, Damien. I trusted you. And you betrayed not only me, but the woman who once called you son. Silence thickened. The weight of betrayal hung in the air. At that moment, the doors opened. 2 guards entered, dragging a trembling Cunnell between them. His shirt was wrinkled, his face pale. Please, sir, Cunnell begged, falling to his knees. I've lost everything. I swear, I didn't know it was Madame Grace. I only acted foolishly. Forgive me. The executives murmured. Some pitied him. Others shook their heads. Adewale's eyes burned into Cunnell. You disgraced my mother. In front of the whole world. You poured food on her face. Did you need to know she was my mother to show compassion? Did you need wealth and status before you showed humanity? Cunnell's tears streamed freely. I was arrogant. I thought myself important because I worked under you. I mocked the poor to feel powerful. Now look at me. I have nothing. The room was silent. Even Damien watched, expression unreadable. Adewale's voice rang with finality. Your punishment is already before you. You've lost your name, your pride, your future. Let the world see what arrogance brings. He waved a hand. The guards pulled Cunnel away, his sobs echoing down the hall. Adewale turned back to his uncle. His tone grew harder. As for you, Damien, you plotted against your own blood. You thought you could erase Mama, weaken me, and take what we built. But you forgot one thing. Truth always comes to light. Damien rose slowly, his face darkening. You think you've won? This company exists because of me. Without me, you are nothing. Adewale stood too, his voice booming. Without you, I will be free. From today, you are stripped of all executive power. Legal proceedings will follow. You will answer for every crime you committed against this family. Gasps filled the boardroom. Damien's face twisted with rage as security stepped in, guiding him toward the door. His eyes locked on Adewale's one last time. This isn't over. The door slammed shut behind him. For a long moment, silence lingered. Adewale's shoulders heaved as he drew in a deep breath. He looked around at the executives, then finally at his wife, who had entered quietly, standing near the corner. Ifeoma's eyes held tears, but also pride. That evening, back at the estate, Adewale sat beside his mother once more. Madame Grace's strength had begun to return, her voice steadier, her eyes clearer. She touched his cheek gently. My son, she said softly, today you fought for me, but remember, power and wealth mean nothing if you lose kindness. The world saw what arrogance did to that young man. The world saw what betrayal did to family. Let your life be different. Let compassion guide your steps. Adewale bowed his head, tears slipping down his cheeks. Yes, Mama, I will never forget. She smiled weakly. Humility lifts a man higher than money ever will. Pride destroys faster than poverty. The words lingered in the room like a prayer. This tale of arrogance, betrayal, and redemption teaches that true greatness is not measured by wealth or power, but by how we treat those with less than us. Cunnel's downfall showed how pride can ruin a man's life in an instant. Damien's betrayal proved that greed can turn even family into enemies. But Madame Grace's dignity, even in suffering, reminded the world that compassion and humility are the true marks of strength. When the cameras turned off and the world moved on, one truth remained. Respect the weak, honor your family, and never let pride blind your humanity.